What's up, everybody? William Warfield here with you. I got my man over here, Jared Peck from the Lexington Herald Leader. Jared, man, what's up?
Oh, just happy to be somewhere. I'm ready to get back to it. Let's get to July. I want July 15. I want August 31st. Let's go.
Yes, sir, man. I can't wait. I heard that Lexington Catholic is going to be starting back up this week, so I thought, man, maybe I should reach out and see if you heard anything about anybody else. Found out that Lexington's looking at about June 29th is when they're going to be starting back up. Although
Yeah,
they're able to get together, I believe. So go ahead.
yeah. I mean, teams are talking right now, and they're trying to figure out what to do. I'm not sure where the public district is on what facilities are open. It's really up to each individual
Yeah.
district, school district that is, to decide whether they're going to open facilities or not. And that's why you have LexCath open and the public schools not. And we got the same situation in Jefferson County. Jefferson County's not open, but some of the parochial schools are, and a lot of the surrounding counties, the county schools, are just going ahead and opening up because I mean they're not like Lexington where we've had a lot of COVID cases and a lot of deaths. I mean a lot of the outlying counties just haven't had those numbers, and they can open back up. And the KHSAA said, that's completely fine. I mean, some places are going to start doing things sooner than others. You should do what you can with what you feel comfortable doing. I mean, that's what the KHSAA has said. And does it set back some of the schools that are more restricted competitive wise? Yeah, maybe, but we're talking. It's June now, and most every other year we'd be just doing basic conditioning stuff, and they can do conditioning stuff on their own at home.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see the kids get together and have some team events, but they're doing Zoom. They're doing what they can,
They're coming
and
on our podcast, right?
yeah, coming on the podcast. I mean, but hopefully June 29th, and really the reason why we don't have any guidance on anything to this point is because they're waiting to see, and they're hoping that we can really get going normal soon.
Yep.
And it's like tomorrow, June 15th, when LexCath is going on and some of the smaller, the youth baseball stuff gets going. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions on what you can do and what you have to do as far as temperature screenings and, asking about whether they've been sick and all that stuff and spacing and mask. And that's a lot of headache and a lot of worry. And if you just wait 14 days, maybe those go away.
Yeah. Well, I got some good news for you, man. You don't need no pen. You don't need no paper for this. It's sports. Look, sports had happened. It's happened today, man. I tell you what, West Jessam's
You have a
girls
first
soccer
athlete
star.
competing in the game.
Yes. Look, check this out. Reese Bolton put on a heck of a show down in Atlanta today. I mean, she had her name called a million times on the broadcast that they did down there. And I am super, super proud of her and to bring her on. She's joining us. Her parents are driving, so let's get that out of the way so nobody says anything. Her parents are driving, or somebody's driving. She's got her phone, she's on her phone, and look at this technology, man. Reese, what's up?
Hey, how are you guys?
Man, we're doing great. I saw you on YouTube Live today, and you put on a heck of a show. I know your team
Thank you
didn't
very
win,
much. Yeah.
but I was looking at it and I was like, 3-1 at the end, when it was all said and done. But to me, it looked like a typical East-West score, 3-1, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jared,
It was a good game.
I know Jared's excited to talk to you too after your big day down there. All-star appearance representing Team East. I believe you're Team West, right?
Team West, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you were Team
Just
West.
like at home, yeah.
Okay. Which is kind of geographically, we kind of wonder why they put you on Team West, but it worked out.
Yeah, I know.
Jared.
Yeah.
What was it like to be participating in a game for the first time? I mean, normally you would have been playing. It'd be state cup time about now for your your club team, and you would have been playing club soccer all spring long. Now you're in an all-star game in Atlanta. I'm sure it was 70 degrees down there today. But what was it like playing your first game in probably a month?
I mean, it was amazing to finally get out there and play again. Really, like all the girls from my team were all around. I think I was the out of two girls from Kentucky, so me and this other girl. But it was very hot there for sure. But it was very fun. I really loved getting to meet everybody and finally getting back on the field again. There's nothing better than playing soccer, in my opinion, really. So it's always great to just, especially after this time, like all I've been able to do is, go out and run on my own or play soccer on my own. But it's very different to play a real game and get the competition levels back. So
Yeah, like I said,
really loved and enjoyed that.
They were calling your name a million times on there. I love the play-by-play voice, and I think you told us who it was earlier. Who was that was doing the play-by-play today? Had the Australian accent.
Oh, I think her name it's Jess something, but on Instagram I think she goes by Jess Talks Footy.
Yeah.
And she announces a lot of games. She was really good though. I watched a few minutes of it before I got on this call, but she was very what's the word I'm looking for? She was very in the game, She let you know everything that was going on, so
yeah, she calls.
I really liked that.
She calls soccer much like I could call a baseball game because I know every single thing about baseball. She was on it, man. I've never heard soccer called that way. Of course, I never really tune into any soccer on TV unless it's the World Cup or something like that. And half the time you can't really understand those guys, but I understood her. I knew what she was talking about, and all I heard was Bolton, 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 Bolton.
Well, or you play defense, right? So that's not a great thing if your name's being called all the time.
Yeah, I play defense, but like the first half I played holding mid, so it was a little different for me.
Okay.
But second half I finally got to go in the back, and I think that's when my name was announced a little more. But still.
Yeah, I saw you. I mean, you had a couple throw-ins. One of them was a really good one that I thought that maybe perhaps the team missed an opportunity on because I thought for sure they had that on the right side where they might have had a goal off of that throw-in. Can you talk to me about that? Do you remember that play?
A little bit. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I never remember.
No, I don't think I remember that one very well. Yeah.
So
it's a little hard to remember all the throw-ins. I feel like I took quite a few, but.
So how did you get psyched up?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. How did you get psyched up playing in the weather like that? I mean, because it was hot. They were taking heat breaks.
Yes, we had a water break every 20, but basically our coach is just telling us to hydrate all day. She shoved water down our throats. I think probably wouldn't have survived without it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot hotter there than it is Kentucky, in my opinion.
Yeah,
the turf was extremely hot too.
Yeah.
Different kind of heat. What was it like playing? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jared. I'll let you go ahead. Sorry, man.
What were they doing health screening wise with the COVID restrictions? Or did you have to answer a questionnaire? Or was your temperature taken every half? I mean, what were they doing health wise?
So we all rode a tour bus together, and every single time that we had to get on the bus and off the bus, our temperatures were taken. So after practice, before practice, stuff like that. We also had to wear the mask on the bus and anytime that we weren't playing. So anytime we were huddled up or having a group conversation, that's when the masks were on. Other than that, I don't think we had a questionnaire. Like, I think the first day they asked us the typical COVID questions, and then after that it was just more temperature based and just how you felt on your own.
Yeah. What was it like playing at that soccer facility there where I believe the Silverbacks play there?
Yes. It's an amazing stadium. It really is. And the practice fields were great for us. There were, I believe, 6 of them. So every team got their own. And then the stadium, I mean, it was beautiful. You could see it from the videos, obviously. But It's very surreal to see things on TV and see teams play there and then get there and play on the field itself.
Yeah, Jerry.
So
I was just wondering, coming back for West Jess, you won the region again last year. What do y'all got coming back for West Jess this year? You're back in the defensive line. Going to have a new goalie. I don't even remember who's coming back that scores for you, but what's coming back for West Jess?
most
I think she's going under a bridge.
I mean, we pretty much have for the back Roger Henry, which obviously is a big little better. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute. I guess because you're going in and out of coverage a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard on the rush. We should be okay for a little bit. Yeah, okay. But backline defensively, we pretty much have what we had this year, except for Audrey Henry, which is obviously a huge loss.
Yeah.
But I think with what we have, we can rebuild. Offensively, we did lose a lot. Most of them, all of them were seniors. So, but I really believe in everyone that's coming up. A lot of them have worked really hard to get here. So a lot of them, we train with them and we really try to motivate them because we know like when we're gone or just this year, they're going to be really big for West. So offensively, we've got
Lewis Hell was telling us. Lewis Hell was telling me that that West has got a really, really good middle school team that's coming up that will be freshmen this year.
Yes, we have a lot of freshmen coming up. I think we have about 11, and all of them very good. I think he expects a lot out of the freshmen this year. So, especially with the build offensively, a lot of the more upperclassmen that we have are more defensive based, I believe. So the freshmen are mostly offensive players, which will be big for us.
Yeah.
To rebuild with.
How would you rate your experience down there in Atlanta today?
Honestly, a 10 out of 10. Just anything that gets me back on the field was just amazing. But I also think it ran extremely well. We were always fed. We were always accounted for. Everyone had a buddy. There was no, I guess, leaving anybody out and all the coaches were though, except for obviously the guidelines or the dead period for D1 and D2. They weren't allowed to be there, but they got to see it on video. But a lot of the coaches there I did get to talk to before games, so it was really nice experience to get to see people that I wouldn't have because of all the COVID stuff going on. I would have just been able to call or email. So
did you
meet 10 out of 10 experience.
Did you meet any good coaches that you liked that really impressed you?
Like team based, like who led the teams, or coaches, like college coaches?
Like college coaches talking to you.
Oh, most of them I was texting before. I did talk to at least 2 coaches, which I'm, talking to them about coming down and really getting to see the program. Other than that, I didn't get to see much from coaches, I guess, except for just talking and trying to figure out dates for when COVID's, they're back at school and I can get to see the real experience for them. So.
Yeah.
Have you made a list yet of where you want to go, or do you have a top 10, or have you narrowed it down at all?
Yes, I've definitely narrowed it down. I'm not trying to close any gates or, block off any, burn any bridges, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'm really just keeping my eyes open, my options open. But for the most part, I've visited some schools and really liked them, and others, not as much, didn't think it was a big fit for me. So yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people request your film from us. It seems like every other week somebody has sent us a message asking for highlights, so we always give them the highlight video that we did for you. But I can't wait for soccer to start back. Now we had talked about We talked about West Jessamine and everything. Coach Kevin Wright, he retired, but he's going to still coach. He's just retired from teaching. Have you had any talks with him at all, or do you have to kind of wait till his period's over with to where he's able to get back with the program? Or
So he had, I think it was a 3-month thing where he couldn't speak to any of us, but that was lifted June 1st. So as soon as that was lifted, he sent us out a text and we had a senior meeting and everything. You know how he is, very social.
yeah,
So he's already decided about the conditioning dates and he's decided how the seniors are going to go out this year. So, yes,
I
I
imagine
talked
you
to
all
him
want
quite
him
a little bit. I'm sorry.
I would imagine you want him to go back to work because he's going to wear you all out if that's all. If you are all he has to do, y'all are in trouble.
Yeah, that's what we were all thinking, but he spends all his time, working, so hopefully he'll give us a little break every now and then, but I think we'll be okay.
yeah. He's such a great coach. That's fully engaged with the West Jessamine program. That I think he's a lifelong coach, so to speak. He could probably coach there as long as he wants to.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't think he could live if he couldn't coach us. Seriously. He lives for this job, so
Yeah.
I don't think there's any getting rid of him.
Well, he's produced several highly I don't know what the right word is to say here, but athletes that have went to the next level, that's been doing really big things at the next level, at the college level, and a lot of folks are saying Reese is the next one. Reese is the next one. How do you feel about that pressure on your back?
Well, obviously I hope so, but I work and that's really my goal is to go on and play seriously really good college soccer and just live out what I've always wanted to do, even as a little kid. So
Yeah.
it would be great if I could be the next, Coach Wright adventure player. But, I've really worked for it and that's just really what I've always wanted to do. So hopefully that's what I'll get. But
Yeah. Jared, you got anything else for Reese?
No, I'm just looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to more soccer. I wish you would have given me some schools, but you're not going to give that up. But we'll see you this fall, hopefully, and deep into the postseason. Let's hope.
Yeah.
yes, hopefully I'll be decided by then. Then you can hear all of them for sure.
Well, Reese, when you do make that decision, let us know, and Jared and I will both make sure that we make it a point to be there.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
But you guys will be the first to know. Don't worry.
That's awesome. Well, we know you're traveling with your family there on your way back to Kentucky. Everybody here in the state super proud of you. You put on a great show today. And I think you lived up to the tweet that we put out earlier. Give them ATL, Reese, and you sure did.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right, Reese Bolton, thank you.
Thank
All right, Jay, I might have cut her off a little early there, but yeah, that's awesome, man.
She's probably taking a big sigh that that's finally over now.
Yeah, she's ready to get off the phone. I can only imagine how hard that is holding the phone up that long, because I think we had her for a good probably 15, 16, 17 minutes or so.
I can't do it. That's why I got a monopod for my phone. I don't hold my phone up.
Yeah,
I got a
man.
stick for that.
So, what are you looking forward to the most coming back? With all these sports and things. Football is obviously been talked about. We may start it with no crowds. We may start it a few weeks late. What's your thoughts?
I'm hoping we start on time. I hope that these cases, maintain control and people start feeling more comfortable about what they're doing. Being able to go up to 50 kids in one place on June 29th, do some indoor stuff, with the volleyball and all that. Hopefully there'll be another here in the next couple of weeks. we'll hear more about what they can do on July 10th or 15th.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will look a little bit more like, full on practice. That's what I'm looking for. Now, if the season has to be pushed back a couple of weeks or the season has to be shortened, we don't know that yet. I mean, it seems possible. I haven't written any stories like that because I don't want to throw out hypotheticals and have people, go, immediately knee-jerk reaction like, oh, how could you do this? You already see the backlash with people saying, with these protests and people being shoulder to shoulder, 10,000, 100,000 deep in cities protesting, what's the point of all this? It's like, well, the point is those people are on their own. They're not there's not a public school system responsible for them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
You can't put kids together. You can't put minors together like that in the street right now. You have to be somewhat responsible and follow basic, public health guidelines for how you get them together. And as long as the CDC says what they're saying, which is it's still probably not safe to get together like we want to and just go all out and like, hey, everything's fine, then we're going to have restrictions. But do I think they're going to play? I think they're going to play.
Yeah. I tell you, I worry about all these group gatherings, and I totally understand. I totally get why they're doing it, why they're out there protesting and doing all that kind of stuff, but I really worry about them because COVID is out there still. And
no, it's out there.
I mean, what are we? We're getting ready to head into the second week of protests, I believe, which, according to how this whole thing goes, it takes about a 2-week time period before people start to feel the symptoms of it.
Well, the one thing that you're seeing with colleges are having some colleges that have brought kids back onto campus, players back onto campus, are seeing some cases. But they're not shutting down the campus and shutting down the athletic facilities. They're quarantining those kids, those players away.
Right.
But then they're probably sanitizing everything and calling Servpro for whatever. But they're not shutting everything down. So as long as people can feel comfortable doing that, maybe that's what happens. I don't know how you do that in a high school setting, though. I think if you have 4 student athletes at a high school test positive for COVID in August, I don't know I don't think the public, school superintendents, athletic directors, I don't know how much they can stand to that because the I told you so people are going to be out there.
Right.
And it's going to be very, what happened in March when KHSAA shut everything down, that had to happen. And people say it was an overreaction. We got 100,000 people dead. We got more than 2,000 people dead in Kentucky. And it's like, it's a real health crisis. And you can't just be flippant with that. And especially not if you're a government body like public schools are.
Right.
And the KHSAA is a quasi-public government agency. That's what they are. They're quasi-government. They're not government, but they're acting on behalf of the state government running high school athletics. They can't be flippant about people's health. They just can't. So am I hopeful that we'll get going again? Am I hopeful that this will calm down and we'll have baseball again, we'll have football again, we'll have soccer again? I am hopeful. I need it because that's my job. I cover high school sports. There need to be high school sports. But I'm also realistic about it. Yeah. It has to be done when it can be done.
How's your day-to-days going right now? With no sports. I know I'm bored out of my mind, like we had talked about earlier. But really, honestly, I haven't done anything except for these podcasts, and I'm totally just doing it just to keep content out.
Yeah, we've had a series going on. We meet again with former UK Wildcats, and I did one on Shane Boyd. I'm doing one on Wayne Turner coming out next week. We had the KBC closing down. Hopefully, they're going to reopen here in a year. We had Kentucky indoor soccer closed down, so I wrote a story about that. I mean, I'm doing stories here and there, one or two a week. These last couple of weeks, I've been making time back on vacation. I got some vacation. I usually take vacation in the summer anyway when things are going down, because come July 15th, when football starts again, it's going to be. I'll be sending out 180, 200 questionnaires to every high school football coach in the state, and then, well, if we get going again, it's football, soccer, volleyball, cross country. What else goes on? Golf. Golf goes on in the fall, and so all that will be going. So right now is, I'm bored out of my mind, but I know what's coming, and what's coming is going to eat me up plenty. So this is a good time for a break, and I know everybody's kind of going stir crazy. My daughter just got her driver's permit, so I got that going on. So I'm okay. I'll be all right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll have to look out on the road there,
Yeah, you need to watch out.
Oh man. So with sports possibly starting back up, if we can keep this whole thing under control and be able to, get back to play, what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like without crowds if we have to deal with that, and specifically for volleyball, because volleyball, they're inside. It's not like they are outside, where it's in the open and you got the fresh air. Inside, there's a big question mark about that because of the filtration system in the schools, and does it recycle the same air and that kind of stuff. So what's your feelings on that?
Well, I think people just want to play. I mean, there's a lot of pent-up demand to play. You see it with youth baseball. Youth baseball is going to start tomorrow. In some leagues, we're concerned about whether to start again. Everybody wants to play. There's no one out there that doesn't want to play. Now, and they will want to play, however. Will they be upset if they can't be in the stands and watch their kids? Yes. Do they want them to play? Yes, they absolutely want them to play. With volleyball, those girls generate their own excitement. I mean, volleyball is already the happiest sport on earth because they celebrate every point. Yeah. Every single point is celebrated like they won the national championship. So I think they'll be fine. And I think people, I guess it's cool and some kids feed off the crowd, but I think most teams, high school teams, they're out there focused on what they're doing. And, they've got a job to do. And, yeah, the crowds are nice, but they'll play regardless. And I don't think they're doing it without crowds. I really think, if we get through this summer, and, you've seen cases pick up this summer a little bit, but nobody's really rationing back anything as far as what they're opening up. We're still, cases are going up slightly or a little bit, but we're still opening up. And I think by August, unless we really get slammed, I think we're going to be opened up and we're going to have fans. Maybe it's fewer fans, maybe it's just parents. I don't know, but I hope we play.
Is it possible that volleyball could move outside in the parking lot, or on the football field, or
that would be tough to do because of the diving and the nature of that. Mm-hmm. If they set up sport court outside, right. Maybe, yeah. If you can figure out how to financially feasibly do a sport court, and maybe everybody does a sport court. Maybe there's one place where we have 4 sport courts set up that are fairly inexpensive, and maybe we play outside doing that.
Maybe we just play in the sand, maybe because sand would probably be a little bit cheaper, right?
I don't know if it would be any cheaper. I think the most economical thing to do would be to set up some sport courts. I think that could be done, actually. I think you could do it you could set up, tennis doesn't play in the fall. So you could set up a sport court on the tennis courts at each, or one sport court or the tennis courts at each high school and get going.
That's true.
That could be done. That's outside the box, and I've never heard that. Let's not say that Jared Peck thinks that we should be playing outside on sports courts. I don't think that. But if we're going to figure out something, if that's something we're going to do,
Yeah, who's the Big Tennis top seed tennis?
What that idea is a sport court on a tennis court.
I was going to say, if top seed tennis is watching, that is a heck of an idea. Why not? Because they've got those outdoor courts over there. Why not make a couple of those outdoor volleyball courts and have the high school teams come over and play if that's what we have to do is play outside with volleyball?
Well, yeah, it has to be sport court, though. You can't play on the tennis court. You can't play on asphalt. You got to be able to slide.
Yeah, some kind of gym mat type of material, something that's.
Yeah, no, but they do. It's like the UK. When UK plays volleyball on the Memorial Coliseum floor, that's a sport court. It's a really nice sport court, but it's a sport court. And then what they have in KBC has a couple of sport courts. The Yard is got a sport courts for volleyball for the league there it's Cova, I think. Cova Soccer Club or Volleyball Club, plays in the Yard over on off Leestown Road. So that's a sport court. And I know that Lexington United Volleyball is looking for a new space since they used to play Lexington United Volleyball. It's one of the big volleyball clubs in town.
Yeah.
They played at KBC. They're looking for a new space, and they're looking. They're like the founder or the founder of that said all he needs is a warehouse and some sport court, and they're good to go.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if top seed tennis is watching, you may have a business opportunity here, a good one.
There's no money in high school sports, but that's okay.
I mean, if that helps mom and dad and whoever else wants to come and watch, man, I tell you that could be a good deal for them because I would assume that more people would come and watch the volleyball than they would just an average two-person tennis match, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes, you can get more spectators for high school volleyball than a one-on-one tennis match that's just semi-pro. Sure. Yeah.
Well,
but let's not make everybody mad, William. Come on.
Hey, I'm just thinking outside the box, like you said, So we've got all this going on. What about like Reese was talking about the transportation? How's that all going to work? Obviously the private schools would probably be traveling, mostly by themselves because they usually drive to the games. But
that was an issue raised by the Jefferson County athletic director at KHSAA about transportation. I think here in Fayette County it's less of an issue because Fayette County doesn't transport their teams. If you're on a Fayette County sports team, Dunbar, Bryan Station, whatever, you're not riding in a bus. You're you're getting there however you can on your own, riding with friends, riding with your parents, driving yourself. I mean, that transportation issue exists, regardless of whether it's coronavirus or what's going on. And so really, since you're on your own in Fayette County, that's going to be fine. In the outlying counties and Clark County and Scott County and those who do get on buses, that's going to be up to the school district. And they're going to have to decide on, it's like Reese said today. When they got on the bus, they were wearing masks. They had the temperature taken. That might be the situation you see in every single county that transports their kids. The problem with that is that logistically that's very hard to do. That requires people, time, and people and time mean money. And there's not a lot of money for that when we're talking about high school teams because, some teams are wearing the same uniforms they wore for 3 years.
Yeah. True. That's true.
Years or 10 years. So that's the big response. That's another reason why high school sports was shut down is because if you have to health screen everybody, that's money and time. And money and time is not in great abundance in Kentucky high school sports.
Yeah.
People think it is, but not for that.
I filmed a little PSA for Lexington Catholic, volunteered to do that yesterday, and they had these. I mean, they had a shipment of thermometers that came in. You know, the kind that you just press the button and it reads. You know,
Yeah.
I guess it scans it real quick. You know what I'm talking about. So
Oh, yeah.
they had that there, and basically how they're going to work their back to sports situation. You know, for the athletes to train off hand is, so you know how the Lexington Catholic parking lot is. You know, you can go
Mhm.
around the right side. You come to the baseball field first, then you go, you know, to the football field house slash football field slash softball field, or you know, whatever back there. So they're going to move their traffic right to left. That's the only way that you can come in and out of there is right to left. So you exit out on the softball side, you enter in on the baseball side. So that's how they're running their situation there. And then as far as kids being dropped off, for example, so kids being dropped off, as soon as they're dropped off, they stay in their car. There's a coach or whoever's manning the gate right there with that thermometer. They're going to be scanning them right there before they can get out of the car. If they're okay, they get the thumbs up. They get to come in and check in. If they're not okay, they have to, you know, stay in the car and then basically drive off. They're not allowed to come in. And then if they drove theirself, there is a cone area. They got to keep their mask on. They get out of their car. Cone area set up. They got 9 cones, and then they do the same thing with the you know, with the temperature check.
Yep. So
That's how they're running.
That's a lot of logistics for a high school sport.
Yeah.
And that's why schools aren't coming back until July 29th, because Catholic can probably do that. Maybe even Sarah can do that because their enrollment's low. But a public school, like Lafayette last year for soccer, had 100 kids try out on July 15th. 100 kids. And, you know, and they had to, when they narrowed that list down, they got to 3 teams of 60 kids, I guess.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of these football teams and some of these other teams, like Bryan Station Soccer has 100 kids. But, you know, you're going to have 50, 60 kids doing that. And that's why another reason they can't train right now is because when you're doing it 10 people to a coach, and that's the restriction right now, it's 10 people to a coach when you train. Well, there are not enough coaches for each 10 players. I mean, you can break the kids into 10 players, no problem. Is your coach making a coach's salary or an assistant coach's salary going to be there 12 hours
Right.
for all day to get each of those kids their time on a public school salary? A public school stipend? No, let's wait a little further and see how far we get, you know, as far as the restrictions coming back. And then, and really, anything that happens now, any conditioning, any training you get in now between now and July 15th, that's all gravy. It's just gravy. It's great if they can do it. It's fantastic if you can do it. If we're still restricted on July 15th, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
July 15th is when the rubber meets the road. It's when soccer teams start trying out, volleyball teams start trying out, football puts on the pads and the helmets, and we start knocking heads 11v11. July 15th is the date we now have to point to. And I think there will be a lot fewer restrictions on July 15th. We might not even have to check temperatures on July 15th. I don't know that, but I think the run through the parking lot from right to left, we might not have to do that on July 15th if we can just be patient. But everybody wants to know what's going to happen on August 31st. They want to know it right now. And we can't say right now what's going to happen on August 31st. We just can't.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. That there's a lot of ifs involved too, you know, or what ifs. You know, what if we have a second wave, or you know, what if it just disappears, you know, totally, and we're just good to go, you know?
I do not write hypothetical stories. I do not write stories about, you know, what if these things are in place, because they probably aren't going to be in place, and you're just going to make people angry if you speculate to that effect. It's best just, these are the situations we have now. We don't know what the situations will be in a month. Let's wait to see what the guidelines say. because
Yeah.
the KHSAA in the state are following the CDC guidelines, and the CDC guidelines have haven't been that harsh. They have not been, you know, extremely restrictive. I mean, we could still be locked down until mid-July if they wanted to, but they're letting things get back going.
Yeah.
Um, it's just you got to be patient.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I don't know what to say it.
it's been said, and I think it's really important. Obviously we got to follow the CDC guidelines, but football is very, very important from a financial standpoint for the KHSAA. We've got. I mean, we're in a position where we have to have that state football championship day. The championships, the six championships.
Yeah, it's not as big a moneymaker as basketball is. Losing the basketball was a huge blow to KHSAA. But they need football.
And
They did some stuff with, um, you know, Julian Tackett said that they'll be able to run until January, the way they've got going now. But they
mhm.
really need football to happen. Um, Football makes
For the
probably a
schools,
little less than half basketball makes, but it still makes.
yeah, football for the school makes pretty good for a
Well, yeah,
lot of the
you're
good
paying your
teams.
referee. The football definitely, from a financial standpoint, helps keep a lot of the athletic programs alive. Now, some people think that's overstated. It's not overstated by that much. Football generates more gate
Well,
and is able to keep athletic departments going for football and a little beyond football.
yeah. Did you see there was an article that was out that talked about the college football and talked about if football happened this year with no crowds, how that would impact the schools. And it said there
Yeah.
was only 3 schools that would be able to survive if football didn't happen with crowds this year. What's your
Yep.
thoughts on that?
But with college football, TV contracts and the gate matter a lot, and at the college level, big time college programs keep their other non-revenue programs going. I mean,
Hmm.
without college football, there is no Title IX sports because the football generates the revenue for the rest of the sports, men and women. And high school, it's not the same.
Hmm.
The high school football doesn't generate that kind of revenue. It's all up to each individual team to keep it going. But in college level, that's a serious thing, and it's why you're seeing Cincinnati men's soccer is canceled. There's no more Cincinnati. You've seen college programs all
Hmm.
over fold because they can't sustain them. And one of the big one was like the University of Kentucky men's soccer coach is a University of Cincinnati alum, and now there's no more University of Cincinnati men's soccer, and that's in a town where we have a MLS professional soccer team,
Yeah.
and that is a stunning development. And hopefully the money will come back around, and some of these sports that have been canceled will come back. Uh, when if we ever get out of this rut, hopefully Cincinnati men's soccer will be reborn. But it's a real concern, and yeah, I can tell you for sure that football is going to survive. Whenever people can go back again, there's going to be men's football. Is there going to be women's soccer? Is there going to be volleyball? Is there going to be tennis?
Hmm.
It's going to take a lot longer for those sports to recover if we lose college football at
Yeah.
for 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah. Have you talked to Josh at all and see how his day-to-days are going or what he's up to with all this thing
But
going on?
Josh is keeping busy. He's doing more work than I am because he's helping out on the news side and helping out with food and business and
Yeah.
doing stuff. And he's just put together a story. Was it AJ? I can't remember his name. Running back for UK, who wants to be a police officer. So,
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Josh, yeah, you've seen that, and he's UK's kicked back up and is starting to do things, and they participated in the march last week. So, Josh is staying busier than I am because his beat hasn't been completely dormant, where my beat has largely been dormant, and I've been trying to take my vacation time back. Um, other than knowing that Josh has two new kittens for he's bought a new house and he has two kittens for the house. I don't know much more about what Josh is doing, but he helped me out a lot. We did a series of stories, and we had the entire Herald Leader sports team do this, including Jerry Tipton, including Mark Story, including John Clay. We had a story come out each week on each Fayette County school and Lexington Catholic and Sayre and uh, who else was involved? Lexington Christian. We did a story out of each of those schools. Jerry Tipton wrote on LCA tennis. I wrote on the Klusner twins at Tates Creek, who one of them played soccer and softball. Mark Story wrote about the coach's daughter for Lafayette softball. So we've been trying to cover high school sports and feature the kids that lost their seasons, or at least feature somebody on a team that lost their seasons. And I wrote about, we had the Fayette County coaches trying to put together a senior showcase for kids who hadn't committed yet to college, and that kind of fell through because the restrictions are just too hard, and colleges can't recruit really, even still. Like with colleges having their moratorium extended into July 31st, they couldn't really have that senior showcase, and that's a shame. But with the MLB draft happening yesterday, and we've gotten more clarity about what colleges' scholarship limits are for next spring because they're bringing the seniors, but some of the seniors can come back. So hopefully there's more clarity there for those high school seniors in spring sports like baseball and softball, and maybe some spots are opening up for them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's some showcases that are still happening though that are still scheduled, and actually Whitaker Bank Ballpark's going to be hosting a few of those.
Now
go ahead.
the MLB draft has happened. I think that, and we've gotten more clarity on what scholarships and what the limits are because they raised the limits. Like, here's a set number of scholarships that you can have, and letting the seniors come back messes with that. And so they've kind of raised that limit. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will see those showcases start to make a difference. It would have been nice to have the Fayette County School Showcase, but those guys were just doing it from the seat of their pants, and it was kind of hard to figure that out. And without commitments from college coaches to be able to come out, and they still can't recruit. I mean, they can watch it on video, but it was hard to put that event together. But yeah, I think some of the more established showcases, the showcases that happen every year, that are a draw and already have all that set up. Yeah, looking forward to seeing those come together.
Yeah, there's quite a few that's going to be happening. And what do you think about the Lexington Legends? Have you kept up with them at all? With what's going on with minor league baseball.
I can barely keep up with anything, but the worry is that minor league baseball is going to contract next year. Yeah. They've already contracted, and not, the Major League Baseball draft was many fewer rounds this year than it has been in previous years. So baseball is already kind of steering themselves towards contraction. So it's going to be a real shame for a two-time Sally League national champion to fold or to get contracted. I haven't seen any movement about, I know they're probably there's a lawsuit out there trying to keep them open. What you hope was that somehow the realignment would realign and Lexington would be involved in whatever realignment for contraction. It's like, I just wonder.
Their agreement, their contract with the Royals ends on August 1st. So there was a lot of teams. Matter of fact, if you look at it, there's about 50 teams that are in way worse shape that are financially, because of the COVID situation, than the Lexington Legends are. And I think there was 30-something teams on that list that they were talking about, getting rid of. So, I mean, when you look at that aspect of it, that does give you a lot of hope that, and to be honest, the Legends, they draw great crowds. They're one of the
Right.
tops in their South Atlantic League as far as attendance. They certainly are loved by the community.
Yeah. Well, I think that their business model works, and I think that any prospective surviving minor league baseball team or major league baseball team looking for a place to be and looking at their options and going, man, we could be in a better market. You know, we could certainly be in a better market with our minor league team.
Yeah.
Then Lexington would be attractive, would be a prime free agent in that kind of market. Because I think what has happened with minor league baseball is really, the scouting, and you see this with Moneyball or whatever, they just sign everybody. It's
Hmm.
like we're going to sign 1 million kids, pay them almost nothing, and then one or two are going to rise to the top,
Hmm.
and or three or four are going to rise to the top out of these millions. And that business model in today's economy, after one recession, two recessions, even before this recession was going on, you can't just do that with.
Right.
You can't pay for staff, you can't pay for infrastructure, you can't sustain that kind of model with thousands and thousands and thousands of players, hoping that just one or two become your major league stars.
Right.
Um,
Well,
that's something that we look at it as a business standpoint. And you would think that was crazy, and baseball's been doing that for years,
there's
and they're
there's
finally coming to their senses, and it hurts a lot of people. But it's probably something that needs to be done for a long time. I really wish it wouldn't happen to Lexington because Lexington has proven itself as some place that minor league baseball needs to be.
yeah, these guys. I mean, for the most part, these guys don't even make $1,000 a month,
Yeah,
and
it's
you know,
nice, and there you go.
yeah, if it wasn't for host families, volunteer
Mm-hmm.
host families at the Class A level, you see them before and after every ball game. When I produced the minor league baseball TV for the Lexington Legends. Obviously not right now because of the situation, but yeah, for the last 5 years I've done it, and I've been able to witness these host families and how much they mean to those players that aren't making any money. Now you're going to have one or two guys a year that come through there that signed $1 million bonus that's doing okay. But
Yeah, if you get drafted high, you get a bonus, but you're still once that bonus is, you better use that wisely because you're not going to get paid
yeah,
anything until you fulfill what they signed that bonus for. You're not
yeah,
going to get paid anything per week.
yeah, yeah. I've seen that happen to a couple guys, unfortunately, where
Yeah,
they come in and they're all hyped up, and for some reason they just can't compete at that level.
yeah. Baseball is a fickle thing.
Yep. So what about this? Football. We talked about volleyball. You mentioned cross country earlier. Golf starting up. Golf seems like that would be the sport that would carry on no matter what.
Yeah, I think golf goes on schedule. I don't think they do anything. I think if school starts and there are kids in school, golf's going to happen. I don't see. I mean, they can play golf in a mask even. I wouldn't recommend that because it's going to be hot in August. But I think golf goes. I think cross country is going to logistically be able to figure out how to do their cross country practices and how to do their cross country meets in a way that's safe, even under severe COVID restrictions. I think they'll still be able to do that. The problem is with those contact sports like football, um, like soccer. I mean, they consider soccer a pretty high contact sport. I don't necessarily agree with that, but they think it is. I think soccer gets going in some way. Probably, when you're talking about volleyball and soccer and football, they might have to wait a couple more weeks. They might have to wait for the restrictions to come down before they can get going. But there is no appetite on anybody's part for us not to have fall sports. Only the most, you know, stringent people who are really, really concerned about COVID-19
Hmm.
are thinking about shutting this down. Because you see this with NFL, you see it with, we've got soccer leagues coming back professionally, in a couple of weeks. The NWSL is going to go, MLS is having a tournament in July. Premier League in England is going. Bundesliga of German football has been going for 2 weeks now. I mean, with all these sports leagues going on, NASCAR is going to start having fans back in a couple of weeks on a limited basis. If there are fans in the stands, or if we're playing tournaments professionally in a few weeks, the public pressure to play high school sports is going to be tremendous, and they're going to want to play. If we're in a school setting and they say you can come to school, if you can come to school and sit in the classroom,
you can.
How can you deny them playing high school sports? How can you deny that if you're putting them all in a 30-seat classroom?
Yeah.
How can you deny high school sports? I don't think you can.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the fears that everybody has is, are we going to start back school with the online classes instead of actually back to school?
If we start back to school and everybody's home for school and we keep doing this distance learning, high school sports are in trouble.
Yeah.
But if we get back to campus, high school sports are coming back.
Yeah. So we talked about all that. We got about 4 minutes here left to go in the show. So let's talk about something that has no relation to sports. How about that? What do you think about the concept of the drive-in theater coming back?
I would love that. That would be awesome. I'm sad that the Clark County Theater went down, even though they hawked like weird Audubon Society things in between the features, and I didn't know what was going on. The drive-in theater was great. I guess there's one in Bourbon County, right? So, and they've opened back up. But, it's a tough business model. The problem with the drive-in theater is, like, when it's in summertime, is like your main feature is not going off until 11:30 at night. That's hard on a family. Even like a family where I got 2 teenagers, that's still tough if the main feature is going off at 10:30 at night. But I love the concept. I love it. And if they showed something decent out in Bourbon County, I think we should go. I think I definitely need to go out there.
Do you remember the first?
I'm not going for Trolls 3.
Do you remember the first drive-in movie theater that you went to go see?
We had the Paducah Drive-In out on Lone Oak Road in Paducah. Had a big Chief on the front of it.
Yeah.
It was the Paducah Chief Drive-In or something like that. I remember seeing Smokey and the Bandit there, which was not appropriate for my age group there. But I saw at that drive-in. It created an indelible impression on me. I probably saw the Apple Dumpling Gang at the Paducah Drive-In, but I definitely remember, hanging the speaker on the wire, and there was a playground underneath. I remember being mad because I didn't know there was a playground in front of the screen. I'd been there several times, and then I discovered there's a playground underneath the screen. It's like, how long has this been there? It's like, well, it's always been there. It's like, well, thanks.
I remember, when we were talking about doing our first drive-in movie theater experience, I remember when I was a little kid, and I'm pretty sure it was in Clark County. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was at the Winchester Drive-In, and we saw E.T. And I remember playing my heart out on the playground. There was a playground there that, like you said, I believe it was in front of the screen, if I remember right. Of course, this was a long time ago. Yeah. And that was the funnest time, man. I mean, that was back in the day when you could just, kids can go play and, just have fun, man.
Now, that was the age when the parents went, yeah, go. We'll see you in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they would never give a second thought to you. It's like with my kids, it's like you have to go to the playground. I'd have to go to the playground with them, and I couldn't watch the show. That would be what happened to me. But now, as a dad, but back then, it was just like, don't get run over. That was the admonition.
So that was like the Big Wheel / BMX era for me.
Yeah.
That whole time period was pretty awesome to grow up as a kid in.
Oh yeah, Evel Knievel, baby.
Yes.
That was me. I grew up in the 70s. I had a Evel Knievel, and anytime we got on the bike, it was 2 cinder blocks and a board, and we'd just go jumping ramps for hours. That's what we would do.
I grew up obviously in the '80s, but I tell you, man, it was good growing up then. Um, yeah, so
Yep.
I think that will just about wrap our show up, unless you got something else you want to talk about, man.
No, I'm good. It's been great to be on here.
Yeah.
Missed seeing you, and glad you had me on.
Yeah, I miss you too, man. Especially, I know how hard you work when sports are going on, and you and I bump into each other every now and then. But man, you do a heck of a job for the Herald Leader, and I'm glad that you're the guy that's writing all those great articles and stuff when we have sports going on, and even when we don't, you're keeping us occupied and keeping the content fresh out there for us.
I'm trying, but yeah, you too. I mean, you've been great with these podcasts over the weeks and getting in some super guest stars. So it's been fun to see.
Awesome, man.
But we need some high school sports. Let's get some football going this fall. Let's get
Oh,
some soccer going this fall.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's do that, and let's get you back on this podcast once we do, so we can talk about it all.
All right.
All right, Jared. Thanks, man, for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
All right, see you guys, everybody. That's Jared Peck with the Lexington Herald Leader. Give him a follow on Twitter at HLPreps, PREPS, HLPreps. So long, everybody.
Right. Oh.